Today on DNVR Buffs Live, we get into everyone's favorite part of the game. Special teams, baby. We're talking special teams to wrap up our spring previews because spring football starts in less than a week. We're just a few days away from it. Let's dive in. Let's go!
Squad!
Scotty and RK coming to you live from the Toyota Lounge. It's DNVR Buffs Live. We are very excited to be with you on this Thursday that feels like a Friday.
They really do.
Yeah.
They really do, bro. It's kind of been a long week.
Thursdays kind of always feel like Fridays to me now. Maybe Thursdays are the new Fridays.
Why not? Let's pop out tonight.
Let's do it. I've got golf league. You want to come?
What's up?
They got a nice bar right there in the middle.
Okay. Say less.
Bring service straight to your bay where you're hitting balls.
Okay.
It's great.
Yeah, that sounds like a vibe.
It's great. Man, I cannot believe I got a text from our guy B-Bads today.
B-Bads. Shout out B-Bads, man.
He said, and I quote, "Holy shit, spring practice starts in 5 days."
5 days, dog.
Doesn't it feel like if you just close your eyes, it feels like yesterday we were at the Alamo Bowl?
Yeah, it really does, bro. That's crazy. I mean, that's why football is, I think, one of the few sports where, like, especially college football and the NFL, like, there is no off season. You know, there truly is no off season, because there's always stuff going on, and even when there is a true off season, it goes by pretty quickly. The chat already wilding, but yeah, man. What are you kind of most looking forward to seeing, bro? Starting Tuesday, March 11th for Colorado's first spring practice of the 2025 season.
I'm a simple man. I like cold beer, football, and quarterback play.
Yeah.
I could sit here and be like, I'm really interested to see the new O-line splits under Coach Gunnar White. But I would just be lying. I want to see the quarterbacks like everyone else. I've been steady on the Julian Lewis train.
You have.
I want to see Julian Lewis go out there and show everyone why he is not your average 17-year-old. And I think he will. Regardless of that, though, it's such an exciting competition for me because of what I've said so many different times, which is this is a win-win situation for the Colorado Buffaloes. Caden Salter wins. You got a great transfer quarterback who could beat out a 5-star.
Yep.
Julian Lewis wins. You got a 5-star quarterback who could beat out a senior quarterback who's done it at a very high level. So I just want to see. I want to see clips of these guys throwing. I want to see guys making plays. I want to hear from the coaches about who they're impressed with more.
Yeah,
that gets me fired up.
100%. Shout out to Rich. Everybody needs to be more like Rich. He goes, I quit my job just to watch DNVR Buffs live every day. What a real one. Shout out to Rich. Respect.
That's what it's all about.
Salute for real.
Although, if I could put you on a little bit, keep your job and still watch DNVR.
Fact, a little best of both worlds there. But no, I agree, bro. I'm excited to see the quarterback competition. I'm excited to see the running backs as well, especially under Marshall Faulk. You know, him making his coaching debut, see which running backs kind of elevate and, you know, kind of take the charge in that running back room under Marshall Faulk. I feel like that's going to be really interesting. And obviously the receivers as well, like losing the top 4 guys, going along with kind of the quarterbacks that you talked about, like seeing which of those receivers kind of get the camaraderie down early on with Julian Lewis or Caden Salter. I feel like that's going to be really fascinating as well because there's a lot of talent, obviously, in that receiver group. You kind of alluded to it, but quickly, who are you kind of most looking forward to hearing from this spring?
Marshall Faulk would be my number one.
Yeah.
New gold jacket in the building. Warren Sapp would probably be my number 2. because every time he speaks, it's
gold.
Appointment television.
For real.
And then obviously, I mean, I'm not even counting Coach Prime. It's been a while since we heard from him.
Yeah.
Didn't get him at the Super Bowl. Still keeps me up at night. But yeah, those would be my top three. Three gold jackets. Real. Again, I'm a simple man.
For sure. Keep it simple, stupid, as the saying goes. Kiss. I'm excited to hear from your guy Pecco as well. Coach Pecco down on the defensive line.
Good one.
And I'm really excited to hear from my guy Coach Robert Livingston as well. Coming after what was probably a busy offseason for him, you know, kind of interviewing for at least a couple NFL jobs. Just kind of hearing what that process was like and, you know, how excited he is to get back to work here for, you know, year 2 under, you know, Coach Prime and working with his defense, because we typically always hear coordinator, offense or defense sometimes. That second year is kind of when that unit can really take a leap. And that would be scary if that unit takes another leap from what they did last year under Coach Livingston. So
and
fascinating.
I gotta say, man, first of all, I should have said Pecco number 1.
I was shocked you didn't. I ain't gonna lie.
I gotta say this, man. It is so beautiful to me that spring football is something that people are waiting on pins and needles for. You have no idea how many years spring football was just a thing that happens in the background of the rest of your life.
I believe it, bro.
And, you know, like, even me, the most diehard of diehards, would just like be like, oh, spring football's on, huh? Like, oh, what did Carl Durrell have to say today? I guess maybe I'll catch a couple seconds of this. Oh, yep, nothing. It was tough. It was tough, and like it wasn't something that you were talking about even 5 days before. Like, oh my God, it's 5 days away. It was just like, oh, there it is, spring football. Like, hopefully this random 3-star that we're putting all of our hopes and dreams behind made an impossible leap in the offseason.
And that's why people outside of the Colorado, the university community, outside of the football fans of the program, will just never really understand the impact that Coach Prime has had on this state and this football program, this university. And that's an example of it right there. Like the year-round excitement for this football program is something that I just feel like has just not been the case, at least for a very long time, perhaps ever.
And if I were to guess, there's maybe 5 programs in the country that are truly driving that year-round interest, and the other 4 are competing for national championships every year.
Exactly. Yeah. Well,
and I'm overstating it a little bit. I'm pretty sure I was like abreast to when spring football was starting and paying attention a little bit, but it was like, it just wasn't something that you were so excited for.
Right.
It was just like, okay, here it comes. Like this is a benchmark that tells us that football is a little bit closer. But it's never been this sense of excitement. There's never been several assistant coaches that you couldn't wait to hear from.
Right. Yeah, man.
Star players who you're excited to hear from. It's just never been like that before. So this is quite the blessing.
And the coaching staff, like you mentioned too, like wanting to hear from coaches, like being excited to hear from coaches, like that has to be a very unique situation in college football. Like Colorado football fans have to be one of the very few fan bases in college football that can name like 5+ coaches on
every
the coaching.
Coach.
I mean, probably every coach. You know what I'm saying? Like that is not normal amongst college football, but that is very real here with Colorado, which is dope.
I think you could sample 100 people that are watching the show right now and try to have them name every single coach, every single full-time coach.
Yeah,
I think 90 of them at least would get it.
That's insane.
And then, like, some of you could tell you, like, and then this guy's quality control.
Right.
And
yeah.
That's the assistant strength and conditioning coach. And, I mean, it's unbelievable. And the roster is the same way.
100%.
You know, people want to hear from third stringers or newcomers who are fighting for a backup job. It's remarkable. It's that part of it might be one of one.
No doubt, man. Should we get into this topic today?
What do we got? You want to start special teams?
Should we?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
We got a couple minutes here to set the table.
Sounds like a plan, bro. So we're talking special teams today, obviously, which was a bit of a problem at certain points last year in 2024 for the Buffs. Let's get into some of the guys who we know are returning, obviously. The main guy who we all know, Alejandro Mata, is back for what I believe is his senior season. Hit 12 of 15 field goals last year, along of 47. Hit 55 of 55 PATs, was perfect from point after attempts. Alexander Stojanovic is also back, who handled a lot of the kickoff duties. Daniel Gerlach is also back, who handled a lot of the kickoff duties as well. But the transfers is kind of really is caught our attention, obviously. Buck Buchanan is kind of the headliner, the kicker coming over from Louisiana Tech. I didn't even realize that him and Zarian McGill were teammates.
Oh, yeah.
2 Louisiana Tech guys they brought in for the portal. So that's kind of cool.
You could have them both on the show at the same time.
Yeah, that'd be dope. So, yeah, Buck Buchanan, who RK has already coined the phrase, touch bucks.
Touch bucks.
That's a dope. But, yeah, Buchanan was a dog the last 2 years. He played in all 36 games for the last 3 years, actually, for Louisiana Tech. A ridiculous touchback rate, which I'll get into in a little bit. Also a really capable field goal kicker. He made 2 55-plus yard field goals this past season, including a school record 57-yard field goal as well. And then Damon Greaves is also mate 2.0.
New mate.
Yeah, facts. I don't know how that's done. New mate.
I can literally just hear it in my head so perfectly.
Damon Greaves transferring in from Kansas, who was the Jayhawks starting punter here in 2023. We'll get into some of his numbers as well, but that's kind of the room as of right now, kind of excluding, obviously, snappers and holders. But in terms of the kicking, the place kicking guys and the punters, that's kind of what the room is looking like at this point. What are your thoughts?
I'm excited, man. I feel like this room is a microcosm of the whole football team.
Yeah.
There are specialized needs throughout the roster that presented themselves last season that this recruiting staff and, of course, Coach Prime went out and addressed directly.
Mm-hmm.
And this one's easier to see it all at once because it's such a small room.
Yeah.
You had a kicker who you trusted.
Yeah.
So you're good there. Fortunately, he's not a kickoff guy. Your kickoff guy wasn't good enough. What'd you do? You went and got a kickoff specialist.
Mm-hmm.
And a guy who can also, let's say you have a 60-yard field goal with 1 second left, in the first half
right.
or in the second half, and you need someone to go out there and try to boom one, you've got someone there too. You lost your starting punter. What'd you do? You went and got a new mate. Got a new mate. And you needed better coaching. So what did you do? You put someone that you really trust and asked them to specialize their coaching this year in the special teams area. To me, it's just that's the Colorado way. That's the Coach Prime way, going through all of those different levels. Mm-hmm. And you can see it so clearly right here in special teams.
For sure, man. I think Pollock is going to be huge for that unit, right? Because I feel like if you don't really have a set special teams coach, things can kind of slip through the cracks throughout a week of practice, especially when we're talking about, again, holders, snappers, field goal kickers, punters, kickoff specialists, all that type of thing. And I think like having a coach like Coach Pollock, who is pretty much coached seemingly every position on the field on both sides of the ball, including special teams, and obviously worked with the special teams quite a bit last year, although not in a full-time role. I feel like having his consistent presence with those guys with that unit is going to really help elevate this unit that really needs to be better. It just has to be better in 2025 than it was in 2024. It was a problem also in 2023. So I'm glad it was being addressed by obviously the coaching and obviously some of the guys that they brought in. The touchback situation, should we hit a break right here?
Yeah.
Let's hit a break.
Let's talk about these touchbacks in a second. But first, I want to tell you about a new partner.
Ooh.
A new partner called Timeline, who sells health and longevity supplements featuring their proprietary MitoPure ingredient. Do you know what that is?
Tell me, bro.
This patented ingredient is a postbiotic nutrient that clears our dysfunctional mitochondria. And as a simple man, I have no idea what that means. But what I can tell you is they are here to help tell you what it means. With regular use, you will see and feel the difference in the form of improved energy levels, better workouts, faster recovery, more endurance, and more. And that's something that I think all are interested in. These guys have been in the game for a while. 15 years of research, 30-plus U.S. patents for their products, all sorts of just great benefits of the people over at MitoPure. So check them out if you're interested. And the people over at Timeline will give you 10% off your order of MitoPure. Go to timeline.com/DNVR today to get started. That's timeline.com/DNVR.
Shout out to Timeline, man. And from a new friend to an old friend, shout out to the squad over at Game Time, man.
Yes,
RK,
sir.
you know, it was one of my favorite nights of 2024 this past year, bro.
Broncos game we went to.
My first Broncos game with the squad, you and Jake, man, was a hell of a night, man. Wouldn't have happened without Game Time. I know the next NFL, NBA, NHL game I go to, I'll be using Game Time to snag some tickets, man. You can literally pick an upcoming game, browse through ticket deals on Game Time picks, and really they tell you everything. They give you everything you really need. Priority Game Time picks. Their curation makes it easier to find better value for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. The lowest price guarantee as well. Or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. This is Game Time we're talking about. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
Game Time. All right. Let's move on in this special teams discussion here. And let's talk about the importance of touchbacks.
I got some numbers for you, bro.
Please do.
I got some numbers for you, bro, because it's been talked about throughout the media. Obviously, Coach Prime was asked about it quite a bit this past season, you know, after games, going into games, and obviously he seemed exasperated just by the question, because it should be something simple. Like, you should have somebody on your team who should be able to put the ball through the end zone on kickoffs. But
at altitude.
At altitude. But that was a problem, obviously, for the Buffs in 2024. Daniel Gerlach, who handled most of the kickoff duties, he had 30 kickoffs this past year. How many touchbacks do you think he had? What'd you say? What'd you say, Dion? 6 is the exact answer.
Dang, Dion's locked in.
6 touchbacks on 30 kickoffs. Alexander Stoyanovich had 18 kickoffs. How many touchbacks do you think he had?
2.
3. So 20% of Gerlach's kickoffs.
Mata had 2 kickoffs. At one point, they were just pooching it with
very
Mata.
small sample size. We'll leave it at that. Gerlach had a touchback on 20% of his kickoffs. Stoyanovich had a touchback on 16% of his kickoffs.
Not good enough.
Buck Buchanan last year at Louisiana Tech, 56 kickoffs. Guess how many touchbacks?
45.
51.
Wow.
91% of his kickoffs went for a touchback last year at Louisiana Tech. This is somebody with a big leg who can very easily, consistently kick the ball through the back of the end zone, which obviously eliminates the chance for a return, for an explosive play in the return game for the opponents that could possibly set them up with ideal field position. Obviously helps your defense out as well. Yep. So this is huge, and this is a big role for Buck Buchanan, not even including what he could possibly do for, you know, his long field goal range abilities, but just simply his ability to kick the ball through the back of the end zone and touchbacks is going to help this team exponentially.
It's remarkable that there's even room for 71% improvement. And actually, it's even more than that, because when you average those two guys out, they're below 20%. So upwards of 75% improvement in one area of the game is just crazy. I mean, I can't even think of another place where that's possible. Like, this is like a quarterback going from 20% completion to 90%.
It's crazy to think about.
Think about that. And I wish I could say that it's not as big of a deal, but we saw firsthand last year a lot of momentum lost after scoring a touchdown and then allowing a big return, or worse, a touchdown return, going the other way. I mean, the one that sticks out to me the most is against Baylor.
That's where I was just going to go.
It's a game where you were scratching and clawing the whole game to stay in it.
Yep.
In a game where you just simply can't afford something like that. Pop one up, guy gets it. The coverage is diabolical. I mean, they in the Prime documentary, they show you a view of that I had never seen before.
Yeah.
straight from behind the runner. At no point was he not scoring a touchdown. Literally,
as soon as he caught it,
from the second he touched the football, you could have just put 6 on the board. There was a gap the size of a semi-truck with no one playing safety, essentially.
Yeah.
And it was just unacceptable, especially in that moment. But it's not just that game. There were several games, and every game, you're just holding your breath every single time you kick the football off. Just
you know that ball's coming out for a return every time.
Yes. And on the whole, probably the coverage team did a good job considering how many damn kicks they had to defend.
Yeah.
But it hurt them enough to be a problem for the football team that certainly made it harder for them to win games, if not, put some out of reach. So for them to go and address this at the rate at which they did is huge. And I heard Dion say it from back there, but 91% was at sea level. Dude could legitimately go 100% in home games this year.
Yes, because that elevation is going to give him a little extra push. That's dope. So, yeah, the kickoff situation is going to be much, much improved here in 2025. I'm curious, RK, though, does Mata keep field goal duties?
Yes. 100%.
100% field goal?
100%.
So, Buck not kicking no field goals?
Well, he might. Like I said, end of the half, you have a long field goal. It's a little out of Mata's range. Yeah,
okay.
He'll give it. They've done that with Jace Feely a couple times back in the day. This one, though, Senior Mata, he's already incredibly trustworthy. I know people waver on him a little bit, but he makes big field goals.
12 of 15 last year.
Yes. And I think all 12 of those, 2 of those 3 came at the very beginning of the season.
Correct.
He went on a long run. He didn't miss another one until the Alamo Bowl.
Correct. And if he made that in the Alamo Bowl, which we could get into it, he probably should have made it because the kick should have been shorter.
Much
than it ended up
shorter.
being. But if he would have made that kick in the Alamo Bowl, that would have set a CU record for consecutive field goals made in the season. So, yeah, he's consistent no matter what you might hear on social media about Mata. But I feel like that will be a competition because, again, Buck has the leg. Again, like you said, I think he had 4 field goals. He had 4 makes of 40-plus yards this past year. He had 2 from 50-plus, and obviously his long of 57. Mata's career long, I believe, is 47. So it'll be a competition. We expect, obviously, Mata to get stronger and, show off a bigger leg, more range this year. But I feel like just having two legitimate options is obviously a good thing for the field goal duties.
Doyle says, Mata's not doing field goals anymore. I'm sorry. I will bet you American currency that he will be doing field goals. Again, maybe there's a cutoff. Last year, he extended his range to the high 40s.
Yeah.
I think he's just going to continue to extend his range.
Right.
But maybe 48 plus, you go the other way. Or hopefully you're confident enough in your offense, which is what you pretty much did this year. It's in that 48 plus range. You just go for it, which I would kind of prefer anyway, as long as it's under 4th and 5.
No doubt.
So, I have the utmost trust in Mata. I faltered a little bit when he was in a slump to start last year, and he did something that is not easy, which is getting yourself out of a slump with no time to rest. I compare special teams and golf a lot. I think there's a lot of similarities, and I once went into a dark place in my golf game. The only way I could get out of it is I told my coaches in high school, I was like, I need a week to just not swing a golf club. Mata never had that ability or that luxury. So he started off really cold, fixed it mid-season, went out there and performed at a high level for the rest of the year.
That takes a lot of mental strength because I think he came out afterwards after that slump and talked about the fact that he was just struggling mentally. Like he was in his own head. Like he had heard, the noise about him on social media, and obviously he's his toughest critic always. And that can weigh on you when you have, in a lot of people's eyes, one job and you're struggling at doing that. Like that can weigh on you mentally, especially when you're a 20, 21-year-old kid like Mata is. But a shout out to him and the rest of that coaching staff and really the team for not wavering in their faith and their belief in him. And obviously it turned out, for a really strong stretch there. I mean, 10, 11 straight kicks made for Mata this past season is impressive. So we all like Mata, and I think he'll be really good again this year.
Yeah, and the hate on Mata is insane to me. Again, he doesn't have the biggest leg in the world, but he's incredibly trustworthy when it comes to pressure kicks, big kicks that are within his range. So to me, careful what you wish for, because I've seen much, much, much worse.
And people can't forget either that, again, 55 of 55 on PATs is not easy. Like, I'm looking at Buck Buchanan right now. He was 29-31. He missed 2 extra points last year.
Oh, 29, yeah.
29-31. Like, he missed a couple. Like, that. Those aren't automatic, but they were automatic for Mata. And that's something that can ruin a game. That's something we saw multiple times, especially in the Big 12. I remember as we were watching, kind of standings watching late down the season, a missed kick on an extra point like that, you're chasing that point the rest of the game, and that can be the difference in a really tightly contested game, especially when you're competing for, Big 12, championship aspirations and whatnot.
Again, I can totally see a long range, short range scenario.
Yeah.
But I would be shocked if Buck Buchanan took over the job entirely. I would be more than shocked.
You got any gut feeling on who's going to take over the holding duties? Because that was Mark Bassett. On field goals and PATs, he was the holder.
It'll be Greaves.
Greaves?
It's pretty much a non-starter now. If you're a punter that's going to make it in the NFL, you have to also be a holder. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so all of these guys are training that, and it's, I wouldn't say it's just as important, but it's very important to win that job and show you're proficient at it to make it in the league.
I held my senior year of college. I was obviously the starting quarterback, and we didn't really have anybody to do it, and I hated it, bro. There were multiple times.
Because you're worried that your hands, which are your entire game, something's going to happen to them?
bro. Or there would be times where, like, we score a touchdown, and I'd be so turned, and I'd just, like, run off to the sideline, and they'd be like, bro, get back out there, bro. Hold the extra point. Yeah, I'd be turned. And I'd be like, and literally the first game, we scored a touchdown, our first touchdown of the season. We scored a touchdown, and I like go over to the sideline. Like I'm walking up and down the sideline, and all of a sudden our head coach is, I don't know, was just screaming my name. Get on the field. And I just hated it. But I didn't
having
know
the starting quarterback hold is kind of malpractice.
Pretty crazy. Yeah. And like my 3 years prior, that wasn't a thing. So I was like, I didn't know. I guess I was the best at it, but I wouldn't even tried. I was going to say, it got to a point where like I almost tried to sabotage it in practice. Like, I just can't do this. I can't catch the ball. Can't hold it.
I'll throw it. I don't catch it.
You feel me?
Oh, man, that's funny.
I do want to get into a couple things, too. Talk about kick return duties, punt return duties as well, because I feel like that could be a very interesting conversation as well, because there's a few different guys I feel like who could handle those duties with explosive ability. So maybe we tackle that other side of this break.
Let's do it. First, I want to tell you about our friends over at UC Health. UC Health is pushing you guys to be healthier, which should be something we all are striving to do. And they are the official healthcare partner of the Colorado Buffaloes. I believe my streak is now up to 37 days. Getting my movement goal in on my Apple Watch. So, get on my level. That's what I'm saying. I've also lost 10 pounds.
Oh, my boy, go crazy.
So, we're out here on the grind.
Yes.
And you guys should be too. Get in on living like there is a tomorrow by going to uchealth.org for more info. UC Health, live extraordinary.
And shout out to the squad over at Foco, man. Foco's a big reason why our set is so decked out with some elite gear and whatnot. Foco is a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. It's the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. If you're going to a basketball or a hockey game, show off your love with team-branded friendship bracelets from Foco. Whether it's hoodies, jackets, beachwear, or even overalls, there's something for fans for almost every single occasion. Even set decorations. Foco has donated a few awesome pieces for our sets, including this one right here. So go show them some love. Foco always has our back for Colorado sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description. For all non-presale items, use the promo code DNVR10 for 10% off. Shout out Foco.
Shout out Foco. Okay. So what else do we have to cover here? Punt return, kick return, anything else?
One more question after that, but let's start here. Who do you want to see return kickoffs? Obviously, that was a Jimmy Horn Jr. situation last year. He's obviously headed to the NFL. We saw Colton Hood return some kicks.
Man, I could see Cam Michael doing both of these. Punt returner's a little more skill based, so I'd have to just see it with my eyes to see if he's a natural catcher of punt returns. But I have a lot of faith in his athletic ability. I could see him doing both of these. I could also see Colton Hood getting one of the two, and maybe Colton Hood would probably be a better fit for punt return, I'm guessing.
Okay. I want to see Colton Hood get that first opportunity. I feel like he's probably had the most experience probably of the guys potentially. And he was so close on a few different occasions in terms of, obviously I'm probably thinking about interception returns in that mix as well, but definitely on a couple kickoff returns, he was so close. If you just keeps his feet, there could have been a couple huge plays in the return game for Colton Hood. So he would kind of be my first one. I would like to see Isaiah Harge get a shot back there as well. I don't know if that's already been a thing, but I would like to see him back there with some opportunities with the ball in his hands, because I feel like he could be a problem back there as well. Somebody that just popped into my mind as well, Joseph Williams. I think he potentially has some juice, some shake and move to him. You know what I'm saying? Some shake and bake that he could potentially be a problem back there as well. But I love your answer at Cam. I mean, it's always a good idea to put literally the fastest player on the team in situations like that. So it's going to be I'm fascinated to see what Coach Pollack kind of goes with from that kick return spot, because that could be a very explosive part of this team. And
speaking of fastest guys on the team, Brandon Hood?
No doubt.
Would be a great role for him, I feel like, to be able to showcase his speed. And, sometimes you like having that running back vision, where you're looking for a gap, you're looking for a hole. And if you can find a really good speed back who's good at that role, a lot of times they have a different eye for it. Dion, did you return kicks ever at CU? Kick return. Do you have your mic on? Oh, dang. Okay. I was going to ask you about the challenges and what you liked about it, but we can talk about it. Oh, yeah. All right.
You should be bored.
Yeah, I'm here.
Tell us about what it was like returning kicks.
I feel like it was mainly scheme, and it's like from a running back's perspective, it's almost like outside zone on a big scale. Mm-hmm. So whenever your blockers and everything lined up perfectly, I think kick return is more of like an 11, 10-man job for sure, especially with the returner. However, punt return, I feel like it's a lot more skill-based, like you said.
Yeah.
More stemming and sticking, getting vertical, and making your blockers right, essentially. But on kickoff return, your blockers have to be right to parse that C.
Yeah.
Had you done that in high school too?
Yeah, I did. I did kick return. I always hated punt return, though. It was crazy. Because you're looking at the ball, and then all of a sudden you got 20 people running at you full speed.
You got to be built different, I think, to return punts.
Yeah.
And just not short arm punts while you can see in your peripherals that people are just coming down to kill you.
Yes.
Which, by the way, shout out to Dion. If you guys didn't know, Dion Smith, interning here at DNVR, absolutely crushing it. Obviously, a former Buff who did a great job on the field as well. But he's come in here. He's been on the ones and twos during our show with Alyssa helping out for the last couple of weeks. He's killing it.
That boy been going crazy. Shout out Dion, man. Let's talk about these punt returns, though. Who you like back there? I'm going to start on this one because all those guys that we mentioned are live for this punt return discussion as well. But I'm going to throw in Farrakhan, who somebody mentioned in the chat. This is somebody who did it at the high school level at a very high level. I mean, just this past year, 2024, 409 punt return yards, 3 punt return touchdowns. I think he had multiple in one game. This is somebody who, again, we're talking about this skill-based kind of thing. This is somebody who has it down, who isn't afraid.
Who's this again? Sorry, there's someone banging. There's such loud banging from downstairs.
This Farrakhan Jr.
Okay.
And typically,
yeah.
I wouldn't want to put a true freshman in that situation because that's a lot of pressure, especially, it's part of the reason why I didn't, mention Quentin Gibson in that first kind of part talking about kick return. But this is somebody, again, who has already developed that skill, has proved that that's a part of his game. And I feel like that's part of the reason why he was so enticing to Colorado and all the other schools that were recruiting him out of high school, out of Houston down there in North Shore in Texas, is the fact that he is a problem in the punt return game. Like, he's not the fastest guy either. And that's what makes it so interesting because, again, he knows how to set up blocks. He knows how to set up defenders with moves. And he does have enough speed to obviously take it the distance. So Quanell is somebody that I'll have my eye on in terms of punt return duties.
Yeah. And I like seeing guys who did it in high school for the same reasons that Dion was just talking about. Like, it's a different skill set.
Yeah.
It's something that you have to be really comfortable doing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think the Buffs have a muffed one in the last 2 years.
I don't remember. I mean, Lejante was automatic. I mean,
yes.
Say what you want about Lejante in terms of the punt return ability aside from the touchdown against Utah, but there weren't any balls on the ground
it's
because
just
of
like
him.
Super quiet hands are required to do it. And I actually think Colton Hood is a really good candidate for this job.
So do I.
So he's one of those ones where it's just like you want the ball in his hands, Like, how do you create a package for him on offense? You just know, you've seen it now multiple times. When he gets the rock in his hands, he's electrifying. And this is a way that you could do that for him.
Kamada, we just talked about Quan Alex Farrakhan Jr. That's my guy on punt return right now. I feel like he's going to be a dog.
Absolutely.
Colorado was top 5 in punt return average this past year in the Big 12. Will they be that again? Average.
I'll say yes. Top 5 is doable for sure.
It's only about 11.5 yards of return.
Yeah, I mean, you got to have someone who's a little bit fearless, like I said earlier.
No doubt.
Tay was, if you were going to give him a couple inches, he was going to try and take that thing. Sometimes, though, you don't have that guy on the roster. You just want to fair catch it. Like,
true.
I remember years where Nelson Spruce was the Buffs punt returner. It's just like, you can trust him. We're not going to risk losing a possession because we just don't have a guy who's explosive and also has the hands for it.
No, that makes sense. I wonder, do you know if that kid from Baylor, that returner, is back? Who we really like?
I think he is, dude. I think he is.
I think his last 34? Name was Cameron. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he is back.
A unique talent for sure.
All right, you wanted to talk a little bit about offensive line since you weren't here for that last week, and you dropped your offensive line preview on the website today, right?
I did. Go check that out on DNVR.com. Obviously, continuing my written preview series of each position on this Colorado football team ahead of spring ball, which starts in 5 days, which is crazy to think about. But this was my first projections for the starting offensive line here in 2025. And again, like you mentioned, I missed you and Jake's conversation on the show last week about the offensive line. So I kind of just wanted to talk with you about it, get your thoughts. Obviously, we can talk through my projected starters at this point. Obviously, Seaton is locked in at left tackle. One of the best tackles already in college football, if you ask me, as a true sophomore here in 2025. I'm curious what y'all talked about in terms of the guard position, because at left guard, I'm giving the nod to the 2 transfers.
Okay.
I think Aki Ogunbiyi is going to be the starter out the gate at left guard. He's played in 23 games for Texas A&M over the last few years, 8 starts, played primarily at that left guard spot. And then I think the Chrysler is going to be the guy at right guard. I mean, I think he is the true plug-and-play guy that they've brought in from the transfer portal on this offensive line. I mean, he started 28 games at right guard for Illinois over the last couple of seasons, a 2-time All-Big Ten honorable mention. He's listed at 6'7", 350, bro.
Yes. That was a big part of our conversation, was just it's clear that there was a huge initiative to get way bigger on the offensive line.
Yeah.
And chat can correct me if I'm wrong, but I do believe that's where we settled on as well at the guard positions.
Okay.
And I just said, I wouldn't count out Tyler Brown.
Right. He'd be my 6th man.
Yeah.
He'd be my 6th man. Did y'all have Phillip at right tackle? Or were your thoughts on that?
Yes.
Yeah?
We talked about Phillip. We talked about Carday Smith potentially being able to. Oh, I actually think we might have had Chauncey Gooden at one of the guard spots.
I think Jake had mentioned that too, which wouldn't surprise me. I think he is probably the most likely freshman on the offensive line to get play right away. even over Cardet. But yeah, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
The fact that we're even talking about this, what a luxury.
Yeah, man.
What a luxury. You know, Tyler Brown's going to be a 6th year, I believe, senior.
Yeah, he is.
You know, you're talking about 2 productive starters who are coming in as transfers.
Yeah.
You're talking about a highly, highly rated potential freshman starting at guard. It's been a long time since there was this sort of depth and sort of conversation on the offensive line. And look, last year's offensive line, believe it or not, was a big improvement from 2023's offensive line. What's also true is last year's offensive line is getting absolutely destroyed by NFL evaluators right now who are trying to evaluate Shedeur Sanders. Every single day I'm seeing a clip where they're like, how am I supposed to evaluate Shedeur Sanders when stuff like this is happening? And so there's still a lot of room for improvement there.
Well said, bro. I mean, like you said, it's a big improvement from 2023 to 2024, but the fact of the matter remains that in 2024, this past season, Colorado ranked dead last in the Big 12 in rushing the football, and they ranked dead last in the Big 12 in terms of sacks allowed. Like, those 2 things are usually the marks of a team that struggled to win 4 or 5 games.
Yep.
They somehow got to 9, largely because of Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter, but that unit has to be a lot better in 2025, because if not, it could be a long season. Zarian McGill, I'm curious what you guys settled on at the center position. Did y'all give the nod to Cash, or was that Zarian McGill?
I think we said that Cash is going to be the quote unquote leader in the clubhouse.
Sure.
He's going to start spring ball as the starter.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a competition all the way through. And it's really going to be a style conversation because Zarian McGill is a lot bigger than Cash.
Very much so. Zarian McGill is a big boy. 35 career games at Louisiana Tech, 27 starts. This competition to every offensive line spot, it feels like, obviously except for left tackle, which I think is very good.
Yep.
The guards in particular, I feel like are gonna really tell the story of how much improved this offensive line will be here in 2025.
And I mean, they might be adding hundreds of pounds to the overall lineup when all is said and done. And when we talk about running the football, that's just it's a big part of it.
No doubt about it. One other thing I wanted to talk about, this came from Paul Kaharski, who covers the Tennessee Titans as well as anybody's been covering the Tennessee Titans since they were the Houston Oilers. And obviously he wrote a story talking about Travis Hunter, who is obviously very much in play for the Tennessee Titans at number 1 overall. Coming out of the combine, Kaharski wrote that the tone teams took in from Travis Hunter at the combine is that he'd prefer to play receiver if his game must be narrowed primarily to one position. Kaharski goes on to say that he's been told by multiple people the feeling is if Travis is going to be steered in one direction, the direction he wants to go is offense. This shouldn't be a surprise because there's more money in it, obviously. It's a more sexy position.
Yep.
You'll get more name recognition. Not that Travis needs any more of that playing receiver than cornerback, but I think this is good to hear, and I think this is something that probably had to come out from Travis. You know, what do you prefer?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's going to be unlikely that you go 100% of the snaps both ways. And if we have to split 60-40, 70-30 one way, what do you want to do? And it sounds like the answer is receiver, which I think is really good to hear.
I mean, it goes back even further, and I think it's less about recognition, less about money, all of that stuff, which plays a role, especially when you have an agent now and you're making these decisions on a higher level. But this goes back to the very, very beginning of Coach Prime and Travis coming over here. And Coach Prime was talking about Travis playing both ways when even that, like, people weren't very accepting of that idea, even at the Power 5 level when this conversation was happening. But Prime said, I think he said, like, he came out of the womb ready to play man coverage,
right?
But he loves playing wide receiver a little bit more. And that's, you know, one is like more of a passion for him. And that's why he spent so much time working on his craft, becoming the best wide receiver in college football.
Yeah.
There's very few people ever like this.
Yes, bro.
Who can be a natural corner who just said, like, I'd also like to be the best receiver. and then just do it. But that can't be done just off of talent. It was
No.
done off a lot of hard work.
Yes.
And so in the end, yeah, I think there's we pointed out like maybe a $15 million gap between the highest paid receiver and the highest paid corner in the NFL.
Yeah.
So that's going to play a role, and it's going to require some out of the box thinking from whatever team takes him. When have you ever had a weapon like that who's a part-time player on defense? You've seen it the other way around where people have been a part-time player on offense, but if he's your starting number one wide receiver, you're going to have to get creative in ways that you can create packages that he can also go make plays for you on the defensive side of the ball.
No doubt, it, bro. That's part of the reason why he's going to be such a dominant receiver in the NFL is because he has all the DB instincts. He knows what a DB would do in this situation if I start with this stem. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know how he's going to win and how he's going to open his hips based off how I come off the line of scrimmage. Like, that's what's part of the reason why Travis is going to be, I think, from day one of the best receivers in the NFL. And Kaharski also writes in this piece, just the financial part of it, the projected 2026 franchise number for a receiver is $29.9 million. For a corner, it's $22 million. $7 million difference just from a franchise tag. And obviously Travis probably ain't never gonna get franchise tag, but that just kind of speaks to the disparity in kind of the money at those two positions. And again, what you talk about, it's gonna take a creative mind 100%. And that's why I've settled on the idea that, like, with Travis, it should be week by week how you're going to use him, depending on who you're playing on a given Sunday, Saturday, Thursday, or whatever. Like, I think he's going to end up at number 3 to the New York Giants at this point in the time. Say you're playing the Philadelphia Eagles this weekend. All right, bro, we're going to double team A.J. Brown. Travis, you want Devontae Smith. Take him out of the game. We're playing Dallas this week.
What a luxury.
CD is really all they got. Travis, you're on him third down, obvious passing situations. You're not on the field. We're using you exclusively on offense. Go for 12 catches, 150 yards, and 2 touchdowns. You feel me? We're playing Washington. You feel me? Same with Terry McLaurin. We need you on him on third down, passing situations. And when you're not on the field, we need you 12 catches, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like that's how I'd go for me. Based on week by week, who are we playing? How are we best going to use Travis Hunter to defeat our opponent? And that just makes him so invaluable and a true one-of-one alien in the NFL, the likes of which we've just literally never seen.
And this is a dude who was a 4.0 student while winning the Heisman Trophy. And I hear people talk, oh, it's just so much to learn, the playbook and this and that. Bro, this guy doesn't have to think about school ever again.
Facts.
He gets to put all of his brain power, which he has a lot of it, towards just learning football.
Chief.
Picking up an offensive and defensive playbook will be nothing to him.
At all. He's been doing it.
And that's what he does. You know, in his free time, he plays a little bit of video games, spends time with his fiance, and studies ball. That's what he does. He's not out partying. He's not out socializing. Like, this is what he's about. It's going to be easy work for him.
I swear.
All right. Shall we see what we got going in the Toyota chat?
Chatski.
Shout out to everyone tuning in today. Hit us with a thumbs up. We've been a little low on that. Maybe it's because Jake's not here and you guys don't like us. From Demetrius. Thank you, DNVR, for keeping the facts straight about the Colorado Buffaloes. What unis will be worn on there? Any new upgrades to the uniform? There was a uniform that I thought we would see last year that never came out. So there's that.
Okay.
I would guess there will be some sort of new tweak. If I had to guess, it would be a helmet. You know, we're going to keep the same like standard uniform with the mountains on the shoulders.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be shocked to see a new version of that and also a new helmet in the mix.
You want to see a gold
jersey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're actually?
Yeah.
I feel like that'd
black
be hard.
helmet, gold jersey, black pants.
I feel like you'd have to be careful because I feel like it could get ugly. A gold jersey, a gold all uniform, but
I'll show you. It's been done before.
I feel like that'd be fire though.
Colorado Buffaloes gold uniform. Yeah, like look at this. That's fire.
That is fire. I agree. Yeah.
So
the black up top and the black pants. Yeah, that's hard.
It goes for sure. I'm still waiting to see the chrome gold helmet. I'm shocked we haven't seen it yet.
Chrome gold. Yes, I think somebody just said that. Yeah, cornhole. He says,
Yeah, metallic gold, chrome gold.
chrome domes.
That seems like it would go so well with the like black uniform that has the shiny gold numbers on it, which we only saw that once last year, I think.
I hope the Grays come back. I was a big fan of the Grays.
They looked great in that game. I like to call them silvers because silver is technically a part of our color scheme, but they are gray.
Okay. I was going to say, it's definitely not silver, but I hear you for sure.
Originally, Colorado was silver and gold.
That's crazy.
And then we added black into the mix. All right, next one from Kamada. What two teams will compete with CU for the Big 12 championship?
I got Kansas State and Utah. Bro, what was that for?
This is Utah. I just hate this Utah love out of nowhere. Give me Kansas State and who's another good team in the conference?
BYU?
Sure, BYU. Yeah, I don't believe in Arizona State quite as much, though I do believe they'll be in the upper quadrant of the conference.
For sure.
I'm Heaven's Demon says, I missed a few days. When is Jake coming back? Jake was fired with cause. He'll never be back. Just kidding. He'll be back Monday.
With cause is hilarious. Speaking of, not actually though, shout out that boy Todd Davis, man.
Yeah.
TD, man. Leaving DNVR for the Denver Broncos coaching staff, man. It was really, down in New Orleans for the Super Bowl was really my first time being able to chop it up and spend time with Todd. And I really enjoyed it, man. He's a dope dude. And I'm really excited for him. That's an awesome opportunity he has joining the Broncos, Sean Payton's staff. Getting back in the mix, that's awesome for him. Congrats.
Todd's the realist. One thing that I'll say about him is across our 5 networks, we've done a lot of work with former athletes, and especially, the guys who have made it big. Todd Davis won a Super Bowl. It's not uncommon for those guys to just come in, do the show, leave, and that's their thing. Todd really embraced being part of DNVR.
100%.
And I just thought that was so cool from the jump. I mean, he's hanging out with us in Vegas during Super Bowl week last year. He's hanging out with us in New Orleans. He's got
super dope.
All sorts of people and parties and stuff that he could go to, but he really embraced, being one of the crew, which was cool. He's going to crush it, dude. He's just one of those people who other people want to gravitate towards and like being around. He's going to do a great job as a coach. And he also was a, intern or something of that nature for CU during spring ball last year.
Right.
So he's got experience with this. He also did that with the Broncos during last fall camp. He's going to crush.
I was definitely.
All right. Dave says, what about Staub as a holder? Just so you have that fake threat every time with a guy who can make a toss. That was an old school way of doing it. I remember Romo was holding at one point.
Yeah.
He dropped that snap.
It's a crazy moment.
I really just it'll end up being the punter because again, trying to help these guys make it to the league.
Yeah.
Unless he can't do it. But I bet he did it last year at Kansas too.
Same.
Jay says, RK, loved your podcast on the greatest games at Folsom. Awesome history lesson. Now that the season is over, what changes would you make to your top 5? Oh, man, that was a while ago. I'd have to see a list of what I said and see if anything jumps in there. I will say the Baylor game is up there with any sporting event I've ever been to. And I literally spend my whole life chasing the dopamine rush that you get from a perfect crowd explosion.
Yeah, man.
And that one was the peak, maybe the best one I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
So that one's very, very high up there.
Hey, speaking of the Baylor game, it made me think about Matt H's tweet recently that I replied to, where he reposted the Omarion Miller play from that game, the touchdown where he obviously stayed up on the sideline and took it to the crib. And it made me think about the fact that I said at that moment on the show right after that game that I think that was his best game. Shador's best game as a Buff. And obviously a lot of people disagree with me in the comments and whatnot. I feel like you and Jake were kind of on the fence, but as we sit here now that 2 or 3 months removed from his season and his career as a Buff, what do you kind of see as Shador's best game, his most memorable game as a Buff? Is it still TCU game.
TCU is that game's gonna live with me forever. Everything about it just didn't feel real. That being said, I understand what you're saying about the Baylor game from like if I'm an NFL evaluator, I'm watching this game just being like, my God, this guy is such a dog.
Yeah.
People forget, and I would want to forget it too. The drive before the drive that they went down and won the game.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Shedeur got sacked all three plays.
I mean, and that was the offensive line was so bad that game.
Well, and they had a really good defensive line at Baylor.
True. They just had a good defense, period. Yeah.
Yep.
That was part went into the map too. Like the offensive line was really bad that game. And Shedeur, I think he was sacked the season high 8 times that game. And sure, some of them might have been himself. But again, just watching that live, it's like the offensive line is doing him no favors tonight. And even on that play, the Amari Miller play, the score at that point of the game was 24-10 Baylor with 40 seconds left in the half.
Yeah.
If they don't score that miraculous touchdown there before the half, you know what I'm saying? It's 24-10 at half. They probably lose the game.
Yep.
But again, multiple times I thought that game was over with. I mean, again, I'm writing it as the game is going on, and I'm writing a Colorado loses to Baylor, you know what I'm saying? And like I had to change it multiple times, and multiple times I thought they were dead in the water. Shedeur just makes play after play. Not even really talking about the Hail Mary yet, which was ridiculous as well. But that, like you, bro, that game will live rent-free in my mind for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that was like the peak of Shedeur magic.
Yeah.
Just making things out of nothing throughout the game.
Facts.
Knowing when he snapped it, he's probably going to have less than 2 seconds to get it off, and just figuring it out. So I get from that standpoint, from like a resilience, from a toughness, from a dog standpoint, I think it was his best game. From ASAP, other than Seaton, do we have any proven tackles? I will say Zy Chrysler did play tackle.
He started 2 games at right tackle. I think he played some other games as well, but 2 starts at right tackle.
Yeah, but to answer your question, no. Not as much.
I mean,
Phil Houston did play quite a bit last year.
Started 9 straight games last season before, obviously, his season ended with an injury. He struggled a bit. He gave up 5 sacks. I found that out this morning. I didn't really realize that. It's quite a bit. But
he had one really bad game. I can't remember which one it was.
I think you're right. So he struggled a bit, but also at certain points, I felt like he really solidified that position down the stretch because it was a real question mark early on in the year, especially in the run game. He seemed to be a real problem in a good way in that aspect.
And did you see the clip of during the military workouts of Jordan Seaton getting on Carday Smith?
Did.
What if Jordan Seaton gets Carday Smith on the Jordan Seaton path?
I mean, I wrote that today. I mean, he is the future of that right tackle position for this program for sure. And I think ideally down the line, that's what you have. Jordan at left tackle, you got Cash at center, you got Carday at right tackle, and you figure out the guards. Chauncey hopefully fits into one of those guard spots, you know what I'm saying? And maybe that last spot is maybe a transfer year in and year out, but that's kind of the dream, the goal for that offensive line, you know, kind of being built through the high school ranks moving forward.
Another one here from the Rev, who says, RK Scotty, do you think we might see a 2-back offense like the NFL with Falk being the coach? Are we talking fullback? Because I would love to see a fullback. I haven't seen anything moving us towards that. You could definitely do a split back scenario with any 2 of these backs. I think if anything, you're going to see multiple backs out of like a pistol formation.
Yeah,
which isn't as common in the NFL. But I hope they explore every avenue that could lead them to running the football better, which was one of my problems last year, is that they didn't do that. I didn't feel.
Yeah, I could see like a 2 running back set where you have a pass catching, maybe even a true receiver at kind of the gun look, and your true running back in pistol, and that 2 running back look, and you can get a lot of different looks out of that play action. Get that gun running back right onto the flag quickly. There's some real options for creativity with just kind of the versatility of some of those guys. Talking about Draylon and Cam and Harge and all those other guys. You're gonna have to get creative to improve that running game here in 2025.
Is that all we got, Dion? Yeah. All right, that wraps it up for us today. We'll be back again with you tomorrow. Hit us with a thumbs up on the way out. We would very much appreciate that. But until then, we love you guys. Go Buffs.
We all silly like the mayor.